Welcome back, Gotham Acupuncture podcast listeners. I'm Josh, your host, and I'm thrilled to be here for episode 3. Today, we're diving deep into the essence of traditional Chinese medicine. Joining me, as always, is our resident expert, Dr. Karen. So, Dr. Karen, thank you for being with us today.
Of course, my pleasure.
Thank you. So, to begin, Dr. Karen, I'm really curious about what initially drew you to traditional Chinese medicine and how did you become an expert in this field?
Well, I initially got into Chinese medicine through studying philosophy. It was really the ideas and the way of thinking that attracted me. But when I was studying philosophy in college, I kind of realized that I wanted something I could do hands on. The abstract world of just thinking and writing didn't really appeal to me on a certain level, but it felt like it was lacking. I went from there into learning Chinese massage, learning Tui Na, learning acupressure, which I loved, but wasn't intellectually stimulating enough. And from there, that led me directly into Chinese medicine, into acupuncture, which is a great combination of hands, head, and heart. So
Oh, okay.
for me, it was kind of a Goldilocks pattern. This one's too mental, this one's too physical, this one's just about right.
I see. So first, the degree you take on college is philosophy. Is that right?
Yep.
Amazing. And then you wanted to go to something that hands-on. That's where you found Chinese medicine and acupuncture.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's been a nice progression.
Amazing. Trying different things in order to find your passion. And also, acupuncture often use terms like qi and meridians. And could you demystify these terms and explain what they mean in practical terms?
Sure, I can.
Mhm.
Qi is a challenging one to translate. The first part of it is we have many types of qi in Chinese medicine. I think the best way to think of it is energy and resources. So, in some ways, it's similar to yang, which we discussed in another week, but it is less about heat and strong activity and more about kind of a gradual, continuous movement. Um, so, we have qi that helps us to stand up straight, we have a qi that helps us to digest, we have qi that supports different parts of our body. And we use this language and this way of thinking to then find points, which are on the meridians, to adjust how the chi is working. So, for example, if someone has too much defensive chi, then we might see them start to develop autoimmune issues, reflecting their defensive energy working inappropriately. And we can then use points that help to draw points on the meridians, which help to draw that chi from the defensive into the interior where it can generate more resources. The meridians are how we think of the points. So each in contemporary terms, we haven't talked about acupuncture points, but if we go back historically, they were much more frequently talking about the meridians.
Mm-hmm.
The meridians are just lines on which we have the points. So we have a meridian for all the points that relate to the lung, and we have a meridian for all the points that can relate to the kidneys. And there's some argumentation about these things, but some practitioners will focus more on palpate the lung meridian and see what you find, and others will say go to this exact point. Neither one's right, both can be effective.
I see. So there are not only one or single meaning to chi, but there are different types of chi. And also, I did my own research regarding the difference of chi and regions. And as far as I understand, chi represents the body's vital energy. And while meridians on the other sides are the pathways through which chi flows. So imagine like chi as the body's life force and meridians as the roads it travels. And when these pathways are blocked or imbalanced, then it can lead to health issues.
Yeah, that's basically it. So, what we're
Mm,
looking for are places where too much chi has accumulated, kind of like a dam in a river that's causing a
okay.
backup of water. And then we're looking for places where there's not enough chi, where the river may have run dry and we need to bring
Yeah.
resources in. And all we're really doing with acupuncture is adjusting those levels. Though, in the same way that removing a dam far upstream might bring water far away, we can use points on the feet that affect the head because it's the same
Oh,
meridian, it's the
okay.
same line of energy. And so adjusting one
Yes,
end will often affect the other in the same way that a dam and a river will.
that really makes sense. I did some research. I noticed that they are pointing needles on the feet, but it's specific to lungs or kidneys, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because it's connected to the meridian channel. Okay, got it. Thank you, Dr. Karen, for
You're
answering that
welcome.
question. Yeah, so, and this time I want to focus on what advice do you want for individuals seeking acupuncture treatment, however, they are worried about potential side effects or adverse reactions.
Sure. Well, like with anything that has power and the ability to heal, acupuncture has the ability to cause some problems. But thankfully, because we're working with these meridians and these natural flows in the body, there's a bit of a self corrective mechanism that people tend to have. So it's rare that patients with a skilled acupuncturist will end up with anything worse than a headache or a little bit of nausea or maybe some local discomfort. But this is not going to be worse than what you might get after exercising. Making sure that you interact with skilled acupuncturists is one of the things that I
Okay.
do through teaching. So, to be an acupuncturist in the United States, you have to have a license, and that process is pretty rigorous. I don't think it's necessarily enough for people to become true experts, but it is enough to make sure that they're not going to cause any real problems. So, we use, and if you're thinking about getting acupuncture and you're concerned, then you should talk to an acupuncturist that you're interested in about this. Anyone who is worth working with should be able to help accommodate what you're looking for. So I have some patients who come in who really don't like strong stimulation on the needles. We just don't do that. I have others
Mm-hmm.
who come in who are looking exclusively for strong stimulation on the needles. We can work with that too. That's to say that Chinese medicine is very flexible and it
Mm-hmm.
can work with most
Right.
problems in a myriad of different ways. So if you're concerned, well, good thing we're flexible.
Yes, I totally agree with that, Dr. Karen. Especially if you really hesitant with something, you should talk to the experts, right? So that's one way you should talk to the Gotham Acupuncture practitioner, which is Dr. Peter Karen, and he can answer everything.
Well, and
Just
it's not like we don't get these questions. Plenty of people are interested in acupuncture, but a little concerned about the whole needle thing. And
yes,
so this is a
exactly.
conversation we're very used to having. So don't worry that you're going to be asking something awkward or uncomfortable because we've heard it all.
And also, since we are already talking about hesitation or being scared, how does stress and emotional well-being factor into the TCM approach to health and healing?
Sure. So we see most stress as a reflection of blockages within the chi flow that the person has. So, for example, if you find that your stress is made better by stretching or by doing yoga, that's a way of lengthening and opening up these meridians. Acupuncture can have a lot of the same effect by going in with the pins and opening up these blockages and allowing a free flow of chi. This is why you'll sometimes see online people talking about an acupuncture high, a certain sort of like woo that people get after acupuncture. And it's very similar to the sort of feelings that people will get after doing yoga or doing other movement exercises that help to open up their body. It's partially an endorphin rush, which is one of the ways that acupuncture works with pain, but it's also a way of removing blockages. For things like stress, that's pretty intuitive and pretty easy to understand for most people, but we don't see much of a difference between stress and emotions. We work with slightly different meridians, but if someone's dealing with a lot of long term anger, we see that as just a different type of a blockage in the meridians. And we can treat it the same sort of a way. That doesn't mean you can't regenerate it. It doesn't mean we're going to fix all of the problems in your life. But by helping to lessen the accumulated emotional burden, we can make it much easier for people to confront situations as at their best so that they can get the best outcomes possible.
Thank you for answering that question, Dr. Karen. And in closing, this is something regarding with someone who are interested in switching fields, like you, from philosopher to Chinese medicine practitioner. What advice do you have for our listeners who are interested in pursuing a career in traditional Chinese medicine or becoming acupuncture practitioners themselves?
Sure. There are a lot of good schools out there. Feel free to
Mhm.
message us and I'll give you some recommendations best based on what you're looking for. Acupuncture can be a very fulfilling career. It's a lot of fun. The school is not easy. It's a 4-year rigorous program with board exams at the end. So you'd better be ready for that. About a third of people usually drop out in their first year. And it's usually because they're not quite sure, they didn't quite know what they were getting themselves into. There's a second challenge, which is after you graduate, you usually have to find a way to be an entrepreneur and start a business doing this. We have more demand for acupuncture than we have ever had in the United States. It's pretty great right now to be an acupuncturist, but there are not a lot of jobs for acupuncturists. So if you have an inner hustler and if you want to be your own boss, then acupuncture may be a really nice way to do that in the field of medicine and to be independent. But if you're looking for a comfortable career without a lot of risk, at least the first handful of years are going to be a little challenging.
Understand. Any career takes really challenge at first, right? But it really needs dedication if you really want, if that's your passion. And I like the way that you mentioned that being an acupuncture practitioner, you also need to be an entrepreneur at the same time. That's what we're doing now, building our own
Yep.
clinic, and we are also our own boss, which is really great. Thank you so much, Dr. Karen, for sharing your insights on the traditional Chinese medicine and answering our listeners' question. It's been an enlightening conversation as always, and I'm sure our audience has found it's valuable. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Josh. Good to talk to you as always.
Good to talk to you as always. So that's it for our episode 3 of Gotham Acupuncture Podcast. And we hope you enjoyed our exploration of traditional Chinese medicine. Always remember to subscribe and leave us a review and stay tuned for more insightful episodes. So if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to reach out. And until next time, stay balanced and healthy.
Take care.
Thank you.